What's up, you ghouls and gals? It's Carly here. I have a Spindrift with me tonight. How about you, Kelsey? What do you got?
I got some mostly warm chamomile in the chicken mug.
How about you, Brandon?
At the request of the main villain of the podcast we most recently listened to, I am now trying my first ever chai latte. And Mr. Cutter, I can tell you this is actually pretty banging.
Is it actually a latte?
I put cream in it and called it a latte.
Before we started this presentation, I briefly told them what it was about, and Brandon did mention one of the incidents that's recently happened, and this happened at the Louvre. It was a climate activist who threw a cake or a pastry. I got multiple articles that referenced it as a cake, and then a few others that referenced it as a pastry, and they threw it at the 16th century masterpiece that everyone knows by Leonardo da Vinci. This person, who was a man, dressed as an elderly woman in a wheelchair, and this allowed them to get closer to the Mona Lisa, and then they proceeded to chuck this pastry or whatever at the Mona Lisa. Thankfully, it is protected by bulletproof glass because this is not the first time this has happened. As they were being escorted out, they said, think about the earth, multiple times. And that, I guess, was their reasoning for it. So this kind of will go into my discussion of what's been currently going on with the climate activists in the past maybe 2 to 3 months. I think this started in June. They said this was an attempt to protest climate change and bring awareness and action. So I will just show you this real quick.
Da Vinci's Renaissance icon became the unlikely target of an apparent stunt at Paris's famed Louvre Museum. One of the world's most recognized portraits was smeared with cake by a man now in psychiatric care. CTV's Genevieve Beauchemin on the attempt to mess with a masterpiece.
That's frosting. A security guard at the Louvre is attempting to wipe off the Mona Lisa display after a cake attack. And this is the perpetrator, according to a horde of visitors armed with cell phones. A wig-wearing activist who approached in a wheelchair. He shouted at people to think of planet Earth after throwing the pastry and before he was detained. Leonardo da Vinci's Renaissance masterpiece was not damaged, protected as it is behind bulletproof glass. After all, the Mona Lisa, with her enigmatic smile, has had much to endure since it was painted in the early 1500s. In fact, the story goes that it was its theft in 1911 at the hands of a house painter and former Louvre employee that propelled it to global superstar status. In the 1950s, it was damaged by an acid attack. In 2009, a Russian woman angry at not getting French citizenship threw a ceramic cup at the glass case. Often a target of stunts as it's so instantly recognizable, its image used worldwide. The small painting has long attracted massive crowds.
I can't believe someone threw acid at it. That makes me even more angry. Like, I knew it was stolen before, but someone, at least it was protected by a case this time. Like,
Brandon. I mean, yeah, it
Da
didn't
Vinci's
actually
Renaissance
damage.
icon became the unlikely.
Yeah, I'd be like,
But it's just kind of stupid. Like, what does that even have to do with climate change?
yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like I do support climate activism, but I feel like that was lazy. That's like,
That feels like I'm using activism, but I just want attention.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, granted, I guess they did make international news, so I guess they made their goal of drawing attention, but I don't think that was the way it should have been conducted.
So this is just one of many recent, I guess you could say, attacks. Here are 5 notable ones that I listed on the side. Giampietrino's The Last Supper, which is right down here. You could see the woman with her hand up on it, as well as, I believe this is Thomas's Aeolian harp right on the top. And why do you guys think they have their hands on it?
Me, pick me.
Brandon.
They glued their hands to it, I think.
Yes, that's absolutely true. So people have been going around saying, I guess they're part of one specific group or a few different groups. A lot of these are happening in Italy for some reason, where these climate groups are paying these people to go in and glue their hands or do something along those lines where it just to not exactly create havoc or destroy the artwork or the frames or anything. It's just putting them in the spotlight and bringing, I guess, awareness, you could say, to the problem problem that they're trying to shine a light on. As you could tell, all 5 of these incidences with these paintings listed on the side, they've all had this happen to them. So these guys, this is Botticelli's Primavera. As you can tell, they didn't actually glue themselves to the painting. They just glued themselves to glass or bulletproof glass that's protecting it, as well as this one. This is Van Gogh's Peach Trees and Blossom.
Is that one protected by bulletproof glass? It didn't look like it.
Nope, they're right on the frame.
Like, I understand they're trying,
No, it's
like,
not.
I don't know, like, for the other ones, at least they had glass protecting them, but for that one, that's like the actual, like, painting. Like, I understand you're trying to make a point, but still, I don't know that's how I would have conducted it, but
Yeah, these 2 also, they're right on the frame as well.
they
This
are
one,
on the frame?
and also this one right here, you could tell that they spray painted on the museum floor.
Well, I guess as long as they don't damage the paintings themselves.
And then also this one that I believe what they did is they also put something over the painting as well to demonstrate what's been going on with the earth. You see, like, stuff is on fire over here, and then you have planes overhead, and that's what's fueling the fires. And then you also have all of the factories and just the dead trees. But that one I didn't really like because of how old the painting is. It's 1821, and they actually put something on the painting and they glued themselves to the frame.
At least they did something that actually had to do with climate change.
And then this one is not actually a painting, but it is a very famous sculpture. And they almost all have the same banner with them. And this is Laocoon and his sons. And this is even older than all of them. It's probably about 1,000 years old. Callie, stop it. So the history of art vandalism, there are various reasons why these attacks occur. A lot of them are political. Some of them are just like, the one woman went up to the Mona Lisa and threw a jar or something at a ceramic jar just because she wasn't allowed citizenship in France. So that's why she went up to the Mona Lisa and tried to destroy it, or she took her anger out on it. There are also other methods as well. Acid and paint are very common, as well as using a knife or a meat cleaver. And you could see it in this one right here. You could see the various slashes by the knife.
I know damn well they weren't protesting anything good, so that makes me even more angry.
And then you can also smash and shatter. Lipstick, apparently, is another one. People have also taken firearms and then other various tools as well. And then I mentioned the archaeological record destroyed because this is probably one of the closest things you can come by where you'll have many statues or monuments in a certain area. This is very common in like Iraq and Afghanistan right now, where a lot of temples and different statues and different things that have cultural value, as well as, an artistic value, are destroyed due to either war, bombs, or they're just trying to get rid of the old ways completely. So this was a temple right here, the Temple of Bel in Palmyra, Syria, and it was bombed, I believe, by ISIS or the Islamic State. And this is the before, and this is what's left of it.
I remember seeing on the news a few years back, ISIS ransacked a really significant museum and destroyed a bunch of priceless artifacts. Yeah, like you said, wars, a lot of museums and other things got destroyed. The original skeleton of the first ever Spinosaurus found was destroyed in an Allied bombing in World War II in Germany. So
Yeah.
I guess you could see it symbolic for war destroying priceless things like that. And
the Nazis were also famous for obviously burning books and different things like that, but they were also known for stealing artwork and hiding it or even destroying some of it as well. That's why a lot of artwork actually went missing during that time period, and some of it hasn't even been found. People will use this for their own personal gain. So what do you guys think?
well, the ones that were more self-motivated, absolutely 100% are infuriating and are completely unacceptable, whether it be war, just petty personal reasons. For the climate activism ones, so long as the work of art itself is undamaged, I can kind of see as being an effective way of peaceful protest, because as we can very clearly see by the nature of this presentation, it clearly made international news. So
Shut
I
up,
guess at the
Cal.
very least, it is raising some awareness, or at least drawing attention to it.
Some of them are just a bit silly, like drawing a cake and a painting.
Yeah, I feel like that was
What do
just
you really?
I
guess,
want
like,
attention.
gluing your hands makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, that one I was okay
But don't
with.
do it on the actual painting or your oils are gonna damage something.
Yeah, like the ones where they actually like were physically touching the original work of art, like that. Even if you do have like good motives in question, I do not agree with that under any circumstance. And I do think I was reading about this. Oh no, it's not a rat, it's just a strap. I was reading something on this a few weeks back. I remember the article said something like some people are angry because they feel like museums should be a place of like peace and like everyone should be there to enjoy them. But the article also raised that the people who are leading some of that, at least the very least, the climate protests, they're doing it on the basis that if we don't change our ways, there will be no museums left in the future. So
How will there be no museums?
I think they're just implying that like the world will be destroyed and humanity extinct, so no museums.
I guess. I just don't get why they chose, like, I don't feel like it's related to climate change. So I'm confused what point they're making. Like, it's not like there's something about the art that like represents fossil fuels. So I don't know if I get it. I don't know if I agree with the like it's bad because it's a place of peace though. Like that's the whole point of a protest is to disrupt people's peace.
Yeah, like I'm not saying I agree with that point either. It's just like
I just feel like that's the common critique of any protest. Like, oh, I don't care if you like want to protest the military, but if you're kneeling at the national anthem, then you're bringing your protest into the football game, and that should be a place that I have to think about politics. I think that's the point of the protest to force you to think about it when you don't want to.
Yeah. No, I was gonna say something. I know I was gonna. Hey, you knock that off.
You gotta shake it.
Nah, luckily she jumped down. Yeah. I do agree with like Hallis's point. She doesn't understand why art museums and prices artworks themselves are targeted, but I think part of it is just as much publicity stunt as raising awareness. Like by choosing a very unique piece of art, a famous piece of art, you're going to very quickly get immense media coverage. So it probably spreads the effects of the stunt further.
You would like glue your hand to some rich guy's mansion.
But that's just one thing. The thing is that it's like in a museum full of like art that's very, very well known, and there's plenty of tourists around with like phones.
I just feel like it would be more impactful if like what they were doing was somehow related to climate change.
Blocking off the factories where fossil fuels are burned
Yeah,
or
like,
something
it's
like
not-
that. Or
It's like not related at all, so I don't understand what they're trying
I
to
mean,
do.
maybe they've tried that before, but maybe just the media doesn't want to cover it.
or maybe they just get dragged away and arrested before they even get the chance to, knowing
Yeah.
the state of institutions like that.
My worry about this is that it's going to catch on and then people are going to do worse to the artwork. And it's like the artwork literally has nothing. You're just making the artwork about what you want to protest. And I understand, like, I truly understand their protest, but I'm worried about just the art itself because you're possibly destroying something that's priceless and you can't, you can never get back, especially if it's, hundreds of years old, if not thousands. Also, the fact that you're kind of making yourself look like an ass and your mission as well, because it's like not many people are going to take you seriously if you're pulling stunts like this.
I guess that's what I mean by like I don't get what it has to do with climate change, and it's a little bit silly. Like just like throwing a cake at a painting, like is that giving climate change the kind of publicity that we need? I feel like it's just making the movement look kind of silly.
Yeah, it's making them probably gonna make people go, oh, this climate activists are lunatics or something like that.
Yeah, that's why I kind of brought in the Islamic State as well. It's like I feel like they're not doing it to that scale. But I could see how you could, I don't even want to say like compare the two, but it could go down that road if they get very, very violent. But I don't think they will get violent. But, you also don't want to destroy artwork. And that's why I'm just like, please don't destroy the artwork, please.
Yeah, I'm worried like what you're saying that it may become trendy, like for just like, oh, let's go vandalize an art museum for whichever agenda.
Yeah, like people from other movements are gonna pick it up, I wonder.
And also it's such a childish thing to do. And I know there are a lot of other people in the world that are very, they act on their emotions or whatever. And that seems like what this is. And it seems very childish, like Kelsey said. And I really just don't want this to be the main thing you're gonna see become popular in the next few years. I don't think it will, because a lot of people appreciate museums and art galleries, but I get what they're trying to do. It's just I feel like they should go do it a little bit better or go another way about doing it.
Go vandalize an Amazon warehouse or a coal-fired power plant if you want to protest those institutions.
That's what I'm saying. Like, just if you're doing things like don't make any sense, it's just like making you look kind of silly.
Yeah, and people are going to take you or your cause seriously.
If they just like went to the museum and like held up signs and stuff and like
Outside
used
the
it as a place
museum.
of protest. Honestly, even the people gluing their hand, like if they glued their hands to the wall next to the painting or
Yeah.
something, and just use the museum as like a place with a lot of publicity, but like throwing a cake at a painting, like I don't understand.
Or even if like you know how some of activists have been sitting on major highways and making huge lines like where people can't get to work for 2 or 3 hours because they're just sitting in the middle of traffic and stopping the flow of traffic completely. Like what if they did that in front of the museum? Like they could stop entry completely. Oh, did you guys hear about what PETA's new stunt at Starbucks?
I saw like some weird thing. There was a giant cow statue, and for some reason they put a billboard next to it that was anti-dairy. I was just like, really? But
No, this one is even worse. It's, I guess, because Starbucks, you have an option of just having regular milk or soy milk, and soy milk is $1 extra than regular milk. So people put their feet in cement and then blocked off the entrance to Starbucks and were protesting the fact that it was $1 extra.
Probably $1 extra because they're two completely different industries that it's being made from that are gonna cost different things to make.
Yep.
Like it's two totally different. It's not made in even slightly the same way. Why would it cost the same?
I support animal welfare, but I very, very am not fond of PETA. I think they're just like a disgusting, breathing, toxic monster that is so toxic you can't help but look at it.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Did you guys like this presentation?
That was a good presentation. I like this one.
All right, Kelsey, do you have a threat for us tonight?
You don't subscribe, I'm gonna glue my hand to you.
Okay. I don't know what to say to that, but bye.